didn't notice at the start. The way you slowly shape my heart, not all at once, not like a spark, but like a rhythm in the dark. Steady pulse I couldn't see, but somehow kept on guiding me. Like something moving out of sight that brought me back to you each night. They say we live in cycles deep, and how we wake and how we sleep, a pattern set inside the brain that loops through loss and back again. A rise or fall, a quiet return, a hidden clock we never learned, but still it ticks in everything, and how we feel and how we cling. And maybe love is just like that, not something sudden, sharp or fast, but something slowly built in time, a rhythm forming line by line. The way your voice comes back to me at certain hours unconsciously, the way I think of you at night before I close my eyes to light. We drive along the fading gold, the evening air is soft and slow, and every mile feels like it proves there's something cyclical in you. Call it timing, call it phase, call it a repeating wave, but every part of me can feel you're part of something steady, real. I wake up and you cross my mind, not forced, not loud, just undefined, a quiet presence in between the things I do, the things I've seen. And later when the daylight fades, you're still there in a different way, not overwhelming, not too strong, just something I return to on. Like how the tide comes in and out without a need to think about, or how the sun begins to fall at nearly the same time each call. Is something natural in the way I find you in my thoughts each day, a loop that doesn't feel confined, but somehow keeps me aligned. I used to think that love would break or shift or vanish with a shake, but now I see it might just stay in quiet patterns day by day, not needing constant highs or lows, but something deeper as it grows, a steady presence I can trust, a rhythm built in both of us. We go up the coast, the sky turns blue, then slowly fades to darker hues, and every color feels like proof that change can still return to truth. Call it cycle, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every moment seems to be you repeating back pace or chase some perfect shining place. I let it move the way it will, through every calm, through every still. And if this is how love can grow in quiet loops we barely know, then I'll just stay inside the flow and let it come and let it go. We go up the coast, the stars appear, and somehow everything feels clear. Not 'cause I solved it, not 'cause I knew, but 'cause it keeps returning. You call it rhythm, call it time, call it something intertwined, but all I know so honestly, you're part of every beat in me. We go up the coast, the stars appear, and somehow everything feels clear. Not 'cause I solved it, not 'cause I knew, but 'cause it keeps returning. You call it rhythm, call it time, call it something intertwined, but all I know so honestly, you're part of every beat in me. We go up the coast, the stars appear, and somehow everything feels clear. Not 'cause I solved it, not 'cause I knew, but 'cause it keeps returning. You call it rhythm, call it time, call it something intertwined, but all I know so honestly, you're part of every beat in me. I didn't notice at the start the way you slowly shape my heart, not all at once, not like a spark, but like a rhythm in the dark, a steady pulse I couldn't see, but somehow kept on guiding me, like something moving out of sight that brought me back to you each night. They say we live in cycles deep, and how we wake and how we sleep, a pattern set inside the brain that loops through loss and back again. A rise, a fall, a quiet return, a hidden clock we never learned, but still it ticks in everything, and how we feel and how we cling. I saw you there and I felt it too, like something in me moved with you, not by choice, not something planned, just like a wave that hits the sand. And I tried to understand the way your smile somehow rewired my day, like every little thing you do finds a way to pass right through. They say there's something in the brain that mirrors joy, reflects the same, a silent system built to feel what others show, what others reveal. So when you leaned and brushed my arm, I felt a quiet kind of calm, not just from you but from within, like something answered under skin. It's like I'm learning how to be a different version next to you, not losing who I was before, just opening another door. And every time you shift your tone, I feel it echo in my own, like we're aligned in ways unseen, shared invisible in between. We go up the coast, the sunlight falls across the road, across us all, and every moment feels so new, like I'm discovering through you. Call it reflection, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every part of me can I stood alone inside a world I called my own. But now I feel a subtle blend of where I start and where you end. Not losing ground, not giving in, just letting something else begin. A softer edge, a clearer view, a quiet shift because of you. Like when you breathe, I match the pace, or when you pause, I hold that space. No signal sent, no word exchanged, still everything begins to change. And maybe that's how we connect, not through control or intellect, but through a rhythm deep and true that moves me closer into you. You turned your head, I did the same, not even thinking, just a frame of something sinking out of sight. A shared response without a fight, and I don't need to trace it back or find the point where it began. I only feel it as it grows in all the ways I didn't know. We go up the coast, no need to speak. The silence never feels too deep in every glance. Each little move feels like a signal I can't lose. Call it instinct, call it sign, call it crossing enough to minds. But every moment seems to be you're reflecting parts of me. I used to guard my thoughts so tight, hold every feeling out of sight. But now I let them drift and land without the need to understand. And somehow that's what makes it real, not forcing how I'm supposed to feel, just letting something naturally become a part of what I see. And maybe love is less about the things we say or figure out, and more about the way we move when something simple feels like truth. A shared expression, small and clear, a mirrored sense when you are near. Not planned, not taught, not something new, just something real I find in you. You smiled again, I felt it twice, like something doubling inside. Not overwhelming, not too fast, just something steady meant to last. And I don't need to hold it still or question if it's real or will. I only know what I can feel, and every part of it feels real. We go up the coast, the sky runs wide, your quiet laughter by my side. And every second, every view feels like it's colored slightly. You call it mirror, call it trace, call it something we embrace. But all I know so naturally, you're reflecting into me. So I won't try to draw the line or separate what's yours and mine. I'll let it blur the way it does, this quiet growing sense of us. And if this is how love appears in subtle shifts and softened fears, then I'll just stay right where you are and let it shape me from afar. We go up the coast, the light goes low, but still I feel the same soft glow. And every breath, each step we take, feels like a choice I didn't make. Call it instinct, call it truth, call it something built for two. But all I know so honestly, you're becoming part of me. We go up the coast, the light goes low, but still I feel the same soft glow. And every breath, each step we take, feels like a choice I didn't make. Call it instinct, call it truth, call it something built for two. But all I know so honestly, you're becoming part of me. I saw you laugh and I felt it too, like something in me moved with you. Not by choice, not something planned, just like a wave that hits the sand. And I try to understand the way your smile somehow rewired my day. Like every little thing you do finds a way to pass right through. They say there's something in the brain that mirrors joy, reflects the same. A silent system built to feel what others show, what others reveal. So when you leaned and pushed my arm, I felt the used to think that love would rise like sudden light across the sky, a peak, a wave, a moment strong that comes and then is quickly gone. But now I feel a different kind, a steady presence in my mind, not loud enough to shake my core, but always there and something more. It doesn't rush, it doesn't break, it doesn't shift with every day. It stays the same in subtle ways, a quiet thread through all my days, like something built beneath the skin, a constant I can settle in, not something I have to chase, but something always in its place. They say the brain can learn to hold a sense of safety, calm and known, not from extremes or sudden change, but from a pattern that remains, a baseline where the mind can rest, a steady point inside the chest. And maybe that's what I found here, a kind of calm when you are near. We drive along the endless coast, no need for more, no need for most, and every mile just feels the same, in the best way I can explain. Call it constant, call it true, call it something built with you, but every part of me can see you're the ground beneath my feet. I used to chase the highest highs, the moments that would amplify every feeling, every spark that lit up everything in dark. But now I see it's not the way that something real is meant to stay. It's not the peak that holds its form, but what remains when things are warm. Like how a room can feel just right, not cause it shines or burns too bright, but cause it fits the way you are without needing to reach too far. That's how it feels when you're with me, a simple quiet clarity, not overwhelming, not unclear, just something steady, always here. And I don't question where it goes, or try to map what no one knows. I just exist inside the flow of something constant, something slow, a rhythm that I've come to trust, not built on chance but built on us, a sense that doesn't fade away, but softly stays from day to day. We go up the coast, the sky turns wide, your voice is steady by my side, and every second feels aligned with something settled in my mind. Call it balance, call it state, call it something that won't break, but every moment seems to be you stabilizing parts of me. There was a time I thought that love had to be loud to rise above, that silence meant it wasn't there, or something missing in the air. But now I know that's not always true. Some of the strongest things we do are quiet, slow and hard to see, but still define reality. Like how the tide can come and go, but still the ocean stays below, or how the sky can shift its hue, but still remain a constant blue. There's something deeper than the change, a place that doesn't rearrange, and maybe love is built right there in something stable we both share. You look at me, I don't feel lost, no need to measure what it costs, no need to prove or redefine what's already aligned in time. And I don't need to chase a sign or search for something more divine, I only feel what's always true, this constant pull I have to you. We go up the coast, the night comes in, but nothing here feels paper thin, and every breath, each passing view feels like it's grounded back to you. Call it instinct, call it truth, call it something built for two, but all I know so honestly, you've become a constant in me. So I won't try to change the pace for stay here without a doubt, and never feel the need to doubt. We go up the coast, no need to run. The road, the sea, the setting sun, and every mile just feels like proof that simple things can still be truth. Call it constant, call it sign, call it something by design, but all I know so easily, you're the steady part of me. I used to drift without a frame, a moving point without a name. No fixed direction, no clear line, just passing days I called mine. But something changed the day we met, a pull I didn't quite expect. Not strong enough to shake the ground, but steady enough to turn me around. They say we build a place to stay, inside the bonds we form each day. A kind of anchor, soft but true, that forms when I get close to you. Not something loud, not something forced, but something quiet, still endorsed by every moment we repeat. Each time our separate patterns meet, it's like I circle back to you. No matter what I try to do, a natural arc, I didn't plan, that somehow fits just where I am. And I don't feel like I'm confined. It's not a cage, it's more aligned, a center forming outer space, where everything can find its place. We drive along the open coast, the sky feels wider than it shows, and every mile feels like it proves there's something stable in our moves. Ooh, so call it orbit, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every turn just lets me see you're where my center wants to be. I read about the way we stay connected even far away, a memory built from tone and touch that lingers longer than it should, a sense of safety stored inside that doesn't fade when we divide, a quiet knowing in the chest that tells me where I feel my best. And maybe that's what I'm inside, a slowly forming place to hide, not from the world but from the noise. A steady ground, a softer choice, where I can live without a doubt. No need to guard or map it out, just something built from you and me, a shared expanding gravity. You turn away, I still feel close, not in a way that I can post, but like the distance doesn't break the shape of something we both make. And when you come back into view, it doesn't feel like something new, it feels like something still the same, a constant point without a name. We go up the coast, the sunlight bends across the road that never ends, and every second seems to say this isn't something that will sway. Call it structure, call it tide, call it something that won't fly, but every part of me agrees you're where my balance wants to be. I used to think that love would fade or shift with every choice we made, a fragile thing that couldn't hold too much time or growing old. But now I feel a different kind, a steady presence in my mind, not loud enough to take control, but strong enough to make me whole. ocean wants to be. So I won't try to drift away or question every passing day. I let it move the way it does, this quiet forming sense of us. And if this is how love appears through steady time and soften fears, then I'll just stay within its flow. Trust the path I've come to know. We go up the coast, no need to run the road, the sea, the setting sun. And every mile just feels like proof that I found something close to truth. Call it orbit, call it sign, call it something by design. But all I know, so honestly, you've become the center of me. I used to drift without a frame, a moving point without a name. No fixed direction, no clear line, just passing days I called mine. But something changed the day we met, a pull I didn't quite expect. Not strong enough to shake the ground, but steady enough to turn me around. They say we build a place to stay inside the bonds we form each day. A kind of anchor, soft but true, that forms when I get close to you. Not something loud, not something forced, but something quiet, still endorsed by every moment we repeat. Each time our separate patterns meet, it's like I circle back to you. No matter what I try to do, a natural arc I didn't plan, that somehow fits just where I am. And I don't feel like I'm confined. It's not a cage, it's more a line, a center forming out of space where everything can find its place. We drive along the open coast, the sky feels wider than it shows, and every mile feels like it proves there's something stable in our moves. Call it orbit, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every turn just lets me see you're where my center wants to be. I read about the way we it started small, I didn't know. Just something when you said hello, a tiny shift, a subtle rise, like sunlight flickering in my eyes. No fireworks, no sudden flame, just something different all the same. Like my body caught a clue, before I ever noticed you. They say there's something in the brain, a little spark that leaves a trace, a signal marking what feels right, a glow that lingers after light. And every time you smiled at me, it built a quiet memory, a soft reward I couldn't see, but felt it pulling steadily. I didn't chase it, didn't try, but still it kept on passing by, each moment stacking in a line, rewriting what I thought was mine. And suddenly I looked again, and everything started to bend. Not forced, not planned, not something new, just something growing next to you. We drive along the endless blue, the coastline stretching into view, and every mile feels like a sign that something's shifting in my mind. Call it chemistry, call it drift, call it a slow emotional lift, but every second seems to show I'm moving where I didn't know. I read about the way we learn, how pleasure leaves a steady burn, a pattern forming deep inside that gently pulls us back each time. Not control, not something loud, but just enough to draw a crowd of thoughts that circle back again to moments that we can't pretend. And maybe love is built like this, not just a look, not just a kiss, but repetition, soft and slow, 1,000 signals we don't know. Each glance, each laugh, each passing tone becomes a place that feels like home, until one day you turn around and realize how far you found. You said my name and something clicked, not sudden, but it gently shifted like gears aligning out of sight. Turn wrong into something right, and I can't say when it began, trace it back to where I stand. But every time I look at you, it feels a little more like truth. We go up the coast, the sunlight breaks across the road, the sun shakes, and every moment feels alive, like something teaching me to drive. Call it instinct, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every part of me agrees you're where my emotion wants to be. I used to think that love was choice, a steady hand, a careful voice, a thing you build from start to end, a plan you shape, a rule you bend. But now I'm not so a kind of resting place. Maybe that's what I'm inside when I'm just sitting by your side, not thinking what comes next or when, just letting everything begin without a need to understand or hold too tight or make a plan. Just letting something naturally turn what I was into. We go up the coast, the sky runs wide, your laughter steady by my side, and every second, every turn feels like there's something new to learn. Call it reward, call it sign, call it a pattern in my mind, but all I know so easily, you're rewriting parts of me. I tried to pause it, slow it down, to turn the feeling back around, but even distance made it clear that something stronger brought me here. Not pressure, not a forced belief, but something simple no script, no careful line. It just arrived ahead of time. And I stood there trying to catch the reason I reacted fast, but nothing logical appeared, just something simple, something clear. They say the brain can act so quick before you even notice it. A faster path beneath the slower place, decisions start to grow. Not in the words, not in the mind, but deeper, harder to define. A space that doesn't wait for proof, but still somehow just knows the truth. And maybe love begins like that, not built, not forced, not something flat, but something moving underneath before it reaches what we speak. A quiet instinct taking lead before we question what we need, before we measure right or wrong. It's already pulling us along. You smiled and I leaned into, before I knew I wanted to. Like something in me skipped the line and moved ahead of space and time. And I can't say what made it start, but it went straight into my heart. No hesitation, no delay, just something choosing you that day. We go up the coast, no second guess, just moving forward, nothing less. And every mile feels like it proves I never really had to choose. Call it instinct, call it flow, call it something we don't know. But every step I take with you feels like what I was meant to do. I used to overthink it all, every rise and every fall. Tried to explain each little spark and map it out inside the dark. But now I see that's not the way. Some things don't wait for words to say, they move before you understand. And still somehow they land so planned, like how you pull your hand from flame before your brain can name the pain. Or how you turn when someone calls before you think of it at all. There's something built to move us fast, to guide us through the present tense. And maybe love can live right there in that unspoken sudden sense. I caught myself just watching you, not thinking what I'm supposed to do, just letting every moment pass without the need to make it last. And somehow that's what made it stay. Not holding tight, not pushing away, just letting something natural grow without needing to control. We go up the coast, the sky feels wide, no extra weight, no need to hide. And every second feels so true, like something always pointed to you. Call it timing, call it chance, call it a subconscious glance. But every part of me can feel this isn't forced, this is just real. There was a time I tried to wait, to be more sure, to calculate. But now I see that certainty was never where it's meant to be. It's in the way you just react, the quiet pull, the simple act of moving closer without fear. When something in you says, stay here. And maybe that's the clearest sign, not grand design, not perfect line, but something small and unannounced that still feels strong without a sound. A step, a glance, a shift in air, and knowing that just settles there. Not asking for a reason why, just something you don't try to deny. You said it feels the same for you, like something quick and something true that didn't need a long delay. It just arrived and chose to stay. And hearing that just made it clear this wasn't only in me. Here it lived between, it formed a space that neither one of us could fake. We go up the coast, no slowing down, just chasing light through every town. And every mile just makes it known I never had to do this alone. Call it instinct, call it art, call it the language of the heart. But all I know so honestly, it came before I thought to be. So I won't try to slow it now or question every why and how. I'll let it move the way it does, this quiet, early forming trust. And if this is how love begins, with something deep beneath the skin, then I'll just follow where it leads. just the part of me that sees. We go up the coast, the night comes in, but nothing here feels paper thin. And every breath, each step we take, feels like the right one we could make. Call it truth or something new, call it something pulling through, but all I know without a doubt, you were there before I thought it out. I felt it first before I knew. A quiet shift when I saw you. Not loud enough to call it fate, but strong enough to resonate. Like something moving out of sight, adjusting how I read the light. A hidden tide beneath the skin that slowly starts to pull me in. They say the brain begins to map the world through every small collapse, a moment stacked in silent rows that form the things we think we know. And maybe you became a point where all my scattered lines connect, a place where signals overlap and turn confusion into fact. It's like a rhythm I can't hear, but somehow guides me when you're near. A synchronization underneath the space between my thoughts and speech. Not logic, not a conscious choice, but something deeper in the noise that tells my body where to go before I even start to know. I try to name it, break it down, reduce it to a coded sound, a pattern in the neural stream, a mirrored state, a shared routine. But every time I get too close, it slips away, it never holds, like trying to define the sea while standing where it touches me. We move along the coast in time, the air feels different by your side, and every wave that hits the shore feels like I felt this all before. Call it memory, call it drift, call it a subtle cognitive shift, but something in me starts to see you're realigning all of me. I read about how minds can blend, how states can shift when to extend their focus into something shared, a quiet space where both are there, a kind of overlap, a thought not fully yours, not fully caught between the lines of who we are. There forms a place that's not too far, and maybe that's what I'm inside when I look at you and feel it rise. Not just attraction, not just chance, but something building in advance of every word we haven't said. A synchronization up ahead, where even silence feels complete, and every pause still feels like speech. You turn your head, I shift my gaze, like something mirrors through the space, and suddenly the world feels still, like time bends softly to our will. No need to rush, no need to prove, just something steady in the groove, a quiet knowing growing slow, the kind you never force to show. We go up the coast, the sky expands, your shadow moving with my hands, and every second stretches wide, like I can see it from inside. Call it alignment, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every signal seems to be you're synchronizing me to me. I used to think I stood alone inside a system of my own, a closed off loop, a separate frame with everything contained by name. But now I feel the edges blur, the lines that once were feel unsure, and maybe that's not lost but gain, a wider sense I can't explain. Like how two rivers start apart, then slowly merge without a start. No single point where they decide, just gradual shift in how they glide, until you can't tell which is which or where the current made the switch. It just becomes a larger stream, a shared direction, common theme. And maybe love is built like that, not sudden truth but quiet fact, emerging of perspective lines. so I don't question where it leads or try to measure what it means. I let it form the way it will through every quiet, every still. And if this is how love begins, with unseen waves beneath the skin, then I'll just follow where they go and trust the tide. I'll never know. We go up the coast, the daylight fades, but nothing here begins to break. And every moment seems to prove this quiet alignment moves. Call it truth or something free, call it shared identity, but all I know so honestly, you're becoming part of me. I didn't notice it at first, just something small, a tiny shift, like when a rhythm falls in place, but you can't say what really clicked. We sat there talking like we do, nothing special, nothing new, but somewhere in between the lines my pulse adjusted next to you. It's like my body found a way to measure something I can't say, a silent sync, a quiet change that didn't feel it all arranged. It's not forced, not rushed, not loud or fast, just something steady built to last, a hidden system taking lead before I knew what I would need. They say the heart can subtly tune to signals coming out from you, not just emotion, not just thought, but something deeper, something tall, a rhythm matching breath and tone, a sense of not being alone, like two small clocks that start to align without a reason or a sign. And I can feel it when you're near, the way the noise just disappears, the way my chest feels less confined, like something settled in my mind. No sudden spark, no burning flame, just something soft without a name, but still it pulls me closer in, like something quiet underneath my skin. We drive along the coast in time, your hand just resting close to mine, and every second feels so right, like we've been moving all our life. Call it timing, call it chance, call it a perfectly spaced glance, but every part of me can see you're calibrating something in me. I used to think I had control of every feeling, every role, that love was something you decide to switch it, turn a thing you got, but now I'm not so sure it's true, cause something changed when I met you, not something loud I had to chase, just something shifting into place, like how the body learns a sound and turns before it comes around, or how a rhythm once unknown becomes a pattern you've outgrown. Your presence feels a lot like that, a quiet, steady, simple fact that something deep is getting clear the more I keep you close and near. Maybe it's not just the heart, but systems playing their own part, a balance forming left and right, a sense of calm instead of fight, a lowered bar to soften edge, a step away from what I dread, like all the tension I once knew was found release in being with you. You smile and something settles down, a weight I didn't know I found, just disappears without a trace, no effort, just your presence place. And I don't need to overthink or stand too far out on the brink. It's like my body understands before I even make the plans. We go up the coast, the light and slow, the ocean breathing down below, and every mile just proves it more. I've never felt this way before. Call it rhythm, call it flow, call it something we don't know, but every moment seems to be you recalibrating me. There was a time I held too tight, measured wrong and missed what's right. Tried to define what love should be and lost what came so naturally. But now I let the moment lead. No extra thought, no extra need. Just something honest, something clear that grows the longer you stay near. And maybe love is less a spark and more like learning in the dark. A slow adjustment, fine and true. A quiet shift aligning you with something deeper than control. A pattern forming in the soul until one day you recognize you've changed without a loud surprise. So I don't ask for guarantees, or try to force what I can't see. I only feel what's happening, a steady, quiet, natural thing. And every second that we spend just strengthens what I can't pretend. That something real is forming here each time your voice gets close to my ear. We go up the coast, no need to race. Just let the moment set the pace. And every breath, each subtle cue feels like it's guiding me to you. Call it instinct, call it art, call it signs of the heart. But all I know, so honestly, you recalibrated me. Yeah. Yeah. You said love is just a loop, a signal bouncing back to you. Like every time you give a sign, your brain just learns to draw the line. I laughed it off, said that's too small. There must be more behind it all. But now I see it in the way I replay every word you say. It's like a circle in my head, a thought that never really ends. The more I feel, the more I think, the more I stand right at the brink of something simple, something strange. A quiet system learning change, a pattern forming day by day, that slowly pulls my mind your way. They say the brain rewards the known, the things that feel like coming home. A tiny spark, a little rise, a soft reaction in disguise. Like when your name lights up my phone and suddenly I'm not alone. Not physically, but something shifts, a small internal subtle lift. It's funny how it built so fast, a future growing from the past. Each moment stacking quietly until it turns to certainty. And I don't even question why, I just feel something amplify. Like every time I hear your tone, it strengthens something I've been shown. We drive with windows open wide, the ocean running by our side, and every laugh, every glance feels like it deepens this whole dance. Call it a loop, call it a chain, call it a cycle in the brain. But every turn just makes it true. I'm getting pulled right into you. I try to break it, step away, reset the thoughts just for a day. But even silence feels like proof that I'm still caught inside the loop. 'Cause when you're gone I notice more, the way I didn't feel before. Like absence writes in bigger lines, the shape of you across my mind. And maybe love is built like this, not just a spark, not just a kiss, but repetition, small and slow. 1,000 things we barely know, a look that lingers, half a beat, a memory we both repeat until it forms a steady ground where something real can settle down. Like how a song becomes your own, the more you hear it when alone. At first it's just a passing sound, and suddenly it wraps around your thoughts, your mood, your quiet space. It starts to take a certain place. And even when the music ends, it echoes softly in your head. You smiled once and that was it, a tiny moment but it hit. Not loud, not sharp, just something clear, a signal saying stay right here. And now each time you do the same, it adds We go up the coast, no need to hide. The same blue stretching far and wide, and every second, every move just feeds this ever-growing loop. Call it instinct, call it truth, call it something built for two. But all I know through all I do, every loop leads back to you. I saw your shadow move before you spoke, like something in me already knew the code. No sound, no sign, just a quiet shift, like gravity leaned and the world just tipped. I used to think that love is chance, a lucky spark in a random dance, but something deeper pulled the thread before a single word was said. They say the brain is wired to seek a pattern in the touch we keep, a small release, a hidden key, a chemical saying stay with me. Like sugar melting on the tongue, or hearing back a song you sung, but none of that could quite explain why you feel different in my veins. There's a signal running under skin, not loud, not sharp, but always in a quiet yes, a subtle glow, a place my thoughts don't need to go. And every time you look my way, the noise I had just fades to gray, like something ancient wakes and moves and shows me paths I never choose. We drive along the bending coast where sky and water almost close, and every mile rewrites my heart like I was built to play this part. Call it instinct, call it design, call it a glitch in space and time, but every part of me can't see there's something here selecting me. I read about the way we bond, how closeness lingers far beyond a single touch, a passing glance, a simple quiet circumstance. They say the body learns to feel what places, what people are real, and stores it deep where words don't go. A hidden map we'll never know, like birds returning every year to the same sky, the same frontier. Oh, wolves that stay when night turns cold and never leave the ones they hold. There's something written in the way we move toward warmth, we choose to stay. And maybe I'm just one more proof that love can grow from something true. You laugh and everything aligns like scattered stars fall into lines, and I don't question why or how, I only know I'm here right now. The road unfolds, the wind gets loud, we're just two shapes inside a crowd, but still it feels so clearly drawn, like something old is going on. We go up the coast, no need to hide, your voice is steady by my side, and every doubt I used to know falls behind the undertow. Call it science, call it fate, call it something we translate, but all I feel is something clear. You are the place that pulls me near. I used to guard the way I feel, measure what was fake or real, but now I see it's not that clean. Not everything is meant to mean, some things just happen cause they do, like finding me inside of you, like something simple, something wild, like being certain as a child. And maybe love begins in small, invisible shifts we can't recall. A look, a tone, a mirrored breath, a moment quiet underneath. Not fireworks or crashing waves, but steady hands and open space. And over time it builds losing you and me. And maybe that's enough to trust this moving thing inside of us. We go up the coast, the sky expands. Nothing perfect, nothing planned, but every turn just feels so right, like something guiding us tonight. Call it instinct, call it grace, call it a trace we can't erase. But all I know, through high and low, every signal says don't let go. We started somewhere I can't place, a moving line, an open space. No clear beginning I could see, just something forming quietly. A spark, a shift, a subtle tone, a way of feeling not my own. And every step along the way just brought us closer to this place. I used to think I had to know where all of this was meant to go. A fixed design, a final frame, a way to capture, a way to name. But now I see it wasn't that, not something I could ever map. It moved, it changed, it bent, it grew, and somehow led me here with you. Through every phase, through every turn, through everything we tried to learn. The highs that came, the doubts we faced, the parts we lost, the parts replaced. It never broke, it never stayed exactly how we thought it'd stay. It only shifted into something more than what we thought it meant. All of it, every part, every shift inside the heart. Not wrong, not right, just becoming over time. Call it change, call it flow, call it something we don't know. But every moment led to this, a place where nothing feels amiss. We drive along the final coast, not chasing what we wanted most, but standing in what came to be. A quiet kind of clarity, and every mile feels like it holds a story that was never told. Not 'cause it needed to be said, because we lived it instead. I see it now in different ways, not separate lines but overlapping frames. The past, the now, the things ahead, all living in the same thread. Not needing to be pulled apart or analyzed to understand. It's all connected in a sense that doesn't need to make demands. And maybe that's the final form, not something fixed, not something worn, but something open, something wide that holds it all without divide. Not choosing one, not losing two, but letting everything be true. A full integration of the line that once was yours and once was mine. All of it, every part, every shift inside the heart. Not wrong, not right, just becoming over time. Call it truth, call it peace, call it something that won't cease. But every second here with you feels like the only thing that's true. The music lifts, the layers grow, a fuller sound begins to show. Not louder, just more complete, a final form of what we keep. And everything begins to align. Not perfect, but enough to shine. A sense of something fully known that doesn't need to stand alone. I hear your voice without a doubt, not in a way I think about, but in a way that simply stays across the shifting of the days. And I don't need to question why or trace the path that brought us by. It's enough enough to stand right here and feel that everything is clear. The sound falls back, just voice in line, a softer, slower end of time. And in that space I finally see what all of this has been to me. Not just a feeling, not a phase, but something lived across the days. A quiet truth I didn't chase, but somehow found in every place. We rise again, the final sound, a harmony that wraps around every moment we've been through, every version of me and you. And as it fades, I understand, not something I can hold in hand, but something I can always be. A part of you, a part of me. So I don't try to end it now, or force it into something loud. I let it close the way it does, this quiet, endless sense of us. And if this is where we arrive, not something gone but still alive, then I'll remain inside the view, where everything becomes me and you. We drive until the light is gone, still keeps going on, and every breath, each passing tone, feels like I'm finally not alone. Call it instinct, call it art, call it integration in the heart, but all I know so endlessly, you've become the whole of me. You said I feel it in a way, I said I don't know how to say. Two different lines, two separate views, two ways of seeing what we do. And at the start it felt unclear where you would end and I'd appear, like something split across a line, not fully yours, not fully mine. But we kept moving anyway, through every word we couldn't say, through every pause, through every shift, through every space we let exist. And slowly something started forming, not a sudden change, no warning, just something subtle, something new, a shape that held both me and you. You speak, I answer, you move, I follow after. Two lines, one flow, something we're starting to know. Call it shared, call it blend, call it something without end. But every moment feels like we are building something in between. We drive along the open coast, two voices leading what we know. And every mile feels like it brings a merging of the separate things, not losing what we used to be, but gaining new identity. A shared direction we don't force, just something growing on its course. I used to think that love would mean becoming less of what I've been, that something had to fall away to let another part remain. But now I feel it differently, not lost but quiet symmetry, a place where both can still exist without needing to resist. And maybe that's the way it grows, not one replacing what we know, but two perspectives finding space inside a common resting place, not blending into something flat, but holding both and more than that, a kind of expansion of the self that doesn't need to lose itself. You speak, I answer, you move, I follow after. Two lines, one flow, something we're starting to know. Call it balance, call it frame, call it something without name. But every second feels like we are shaping shared identity. The rhythm drops, we trade the lines, short praises crossing different times. A question here, a shift, a tone, a feeling not just mine alone. And in that that space I start to see how much of you exists in me. Not taking over, not replacing, but something gently interlacing. You say a word, I feel it land, I say it back, you understand. Not cause we planned or learned the script, but cause we didn't let it slip. And every time we overlap, we close a little bit of gap, until the distance disappears between our thoughts, between our fears. The voices rise, they almost match, but not completely, just to catch a slight delay, a subtle shift, a tension we don't try to fix. And maybe that's what makes it real. Not perfect sync, but how we feel. A shared but still distinct design, where yours is yours and mine is mine. We come back in, the lines align, not separate now but intertwined. And everything begins to show a single path from what we know. Not losing what we used to be, but forming new identity. A voice that holds both you and me in one continuous melody. So I don't try to draw the line or separate what's yours and mine. I let it move the way it does, this growing, shifting sense of us. And if this is how love can be, a shared, evolving identity, then I'll stay here inside the sound, where both of us are still around. We drive until the night runs deep, but something steady starts to keep a sense of who we've come to be. Not you, not I, but something we call it instinct, call it truth, call it something built for two. But all I know, so honestly, you've become a part of me. I think I know what you'll say next, before the words have left your chest. A half-formed line, a rising tone that feels familiar in its own. And when you speak, it matches close. Not perfect, but enough to show that something in me's learned to shape before it fully takes its place. It's like I build a quiet frame of what you'll do, of what you'll say. Not guessing wrong, not always right, but moving closer every time. And in that space between the two, the expected and what comes from you, there's something forming, something real, a deeper way of how we feel. Say it soft to hear it first, say it wrong, I shift the verse, think ahead, feel it through, everything aligns to you. Call it pattern, call it mind, call it something intertwined, but every time you follow through, I feel the shape of knowing you. We drive along the open coast, and every moment feels composed. Not scripted out, not fully planned, but something I can understand. The way you pause, the way you breathe, the way you look before you speak, it's all becoming something known, a rhythm I can call my own. I used to think that love was chance, a sudden random circumstance, a thing you couldn't really see until it happened naturally. But now I feel a different kind of learning curve inside the mind, a quiet system building trust through every small exchange with us. And maybe that's what makes it stay, not just emotion, but the way we start to recognize the signs before they fully form in time. A shared prediction, soft and true, that slowly brings me close to you. Not taking away what's new or free, but shaping how it comes to be. Say it soft, I hear it first, say it wrong, I shift the verse, think ahead, feel it through, everything aligns to you. Call it instinct, call it flow, call it something I now know, but every time I understand, it feels more real than what we planned. The voices split, they answer back, I start to feel how something scattered becomes real. Not one clear line, not one set tone, but something built from what is known and what is learned along the way. In every word we didn't say, you say something I didn't see, and that's what brings me clarity. Not everything can be defined before it forms inside the mind. And maybe that's the balance here between what's known and what appears. A system open to surprise, but grounded in what it implies. The melody shifts, that turns around, the same notes placed in different sound, and suddenly I start to see the change inside the symmetry. Not losing what I thought I knew, but finding something new in you. A reworking of what was there into a deeper kind of care. We come back and the lines align, all fragments forming into one line, and everything begins to show, not just the parts but how they flow. A full expression of the start that once was scattered in my heart, now clear, now whole, now understood in ways I didn't think I could. So I don't try to know it all or force the rise or fear the fall. I let it build the way it will, through every shift, through every still. And if this is how love can grow, through what we learn and what we don't, then I'll remain inside the view where knowing slowly leads to you. We drive until the night is still, but everything feels clearer still, and every moment proves it true. Understanding leads to you. Call it instinct, call it mind, call it something redefined, but all I know so honestly, you're the pattern forming me. We thought it mattered more back then, the way it felt, the where and when. Every second stretched so wide, like something we could step inside. And now it moves a different way, the same moment, shorter days. Or maybe I just see it shifting, how I hold what I once missed. They say we weigh what's far ahead, less than what's right here instead. A present pull, the future fade, a quiet trade. Our minds are made, and maybe love can live like that. Not in the plans we tried to map, but in the moments we don't delay, the ones we choose to feel today. Now, then, close, far, everything depends on where you are. Fast, slow, hold, move, what we keep and what we lose. Call it time, call it frame, call it something we can't name, but every second next to you feels like the only thing that's true. We drive along the turning coast, not chasing what we wanted most, just letting everything unfold in ways that don't need to be told. And every mile feels less defined by what we left or what we're finding, more about what we let remain right here inside this passing frame. I used to think that love would mean building toward a distant scene, a future set, a fixed design, a place where everything aligns. But now I see it differently, not something far but something free, a present state I don't postpone, a feeling I can fully own. And maybe that's the quiet shift, not what we gain but what we lift from future weight into the now, a softer, more immediate how. Not asking where this path will go, but letting each moment show its own small truth, its own clear line, without needing to define. Now, then, close, far, everything depends on where you are. Fast, slow, hold, move, what we keep and what we lose. Call it present, call it real, call it something I can feel, but every moment here with you feels like the only thing I choose. The rhythm builds its speeds and feel a layered sense of something real, not faster time but full of space, more detail in a shorter place. And I can feel it in my chest, a deeper kind of present rest when nothing stretches out too far and everything is where we are. You say we don't know what comes comes next. But somehow that feels less complex, not cause it's easy or it's clear, but cause it's not what brings me here. And maybe that's the clearest part, not future plans but present heart. A quiet sense I don't resist, and every second that exists the sound drops out, just voice and tone, a simple line, a softer zone. And in that space I start to see how time has changed inside of me. Not rushing forward, not behind, but something shifting in my mind, a different way to hold what's real without needing to conceal. We stretch again, the lines go long, the phrases slow into the song, and everything begins to breathe in ways that don't demand a need a future frame to make it last, or tie it back into the past. Just something present, something true that only lives when I'm with you. So I don't try to speed it now, or slow it down, or ask it how. I let it move the way it does, this quiet passing sense of us. And if this is how love can stay, not fixed but living day by day, then I'll remain inside the view, where every now belongs to you. We drive until the moment ends, but still it softly recombines, and every second proves it true. The present is what holds me to you. Call it instant, call it time, call it something undefined, but all I know so honestly right now is all I need to be. It happens when I'm not aware, when I'm not trying to get somewhere. A quiet drift inside my head where thoughts just move instead of lead. No single line, no central view, just fragments slowly passing through. And in between the space they make, I feel the shape of you awake. I didn't call it anything, not love, not thought, not memory, just something in the way it stays when I'm not looking for a place to hold it down or make it clear. It simply forms when you're not here, and still it feels like something true, a quiet state that leads to you. The quiet state that leads to you. They say the mind begins to roam and feels safe enough alone, or wandering without a goal that drifts across the inner hole. And maybe that's what I'm inside when I let go of where I guide, a place where thoughts don't need to land to still be something I can understand. Drift slow, no line, nothing here I need to define. Soft loop, same view, every path still leads to you. Call it thought, call it state, call it something I don't chase, but every time I let it go, you're where the quiet currents flow. We drive, but I don't see the road. My focus slips, my thoughts unload. Not gone, just somewhere else instead. A quieter layer in my head, and in that space I start to feel something softer, something real, not built on words or what we do, but something that exists with you. I used to think that love would speak in ways that made it clear to keep a defined sense, a certain place, a structured form I could embrace. But now it moves a different way, not needing words for it to stay. A background presence in my mind that's always there but undefined. Maybe that's the clearest sign, not something I can draw a line, but something that appears when I stop asking questions like why. A quiet emergence, soft and slow, that doesn't need me to know. It just exists in passing thought, a form that can't be fully caught. Drift slow, no line, nothing here I need to define. Soft loop, same view, every path still leads to you. Call it echo, call it trace, call it something I embrace, but every time I let it be, it comes back differently to me. The rhythm builds but never peaks.
speaks, it moves in waves, it shifts, it leaks into the spaces left behind between each passing thought and mine. And I don't try to hold it still or shape it with a stronger will. I let it form the way it must, this quiet moving sense of us. You overlap in everything and half-formed thoughts and drifting scenes, not fully there, not fully gone, but something that keeps going on. And I don't know if that is real or just the way I choose to feel, but in this state I start to see a different kind of clarity. We layer voices, not as one, but many threads that come undone and weave again in subtle ways, a scattered soft reflective haze, and everything begins to show, not what I planned but what I know, a quiet pattern underneath that doesn't need to be complete. So I don't try to end the line or bring it back or redefine. I let it drift the way it does, this open-ended sense of us. And if this is how love can stay, not fixed but moving day by day, and I'll remain inside the flow where nothing needs to fully show. The loop returns, it fades again, a gentle never-ending blend, and every time it circles through, it brings a softer version of you. Call it instinct, call it mind, call it something undefined, but all I know so endlessly, you live inside the drift in me.
It happens when I'm not aware, when I'm not trying to get somewhere. A quiet drift inside my head, where thoughts just move instead of lead. No single line, no central view, just fragments slowly passing through. And in between the space they make, I feel the shape of you awake. I didn't call it anything. Not love, not thought, not memory. Just something in the way it stays, when I'm not looking for a place to hold it down or make it clear. It simply forms when you're not here, and still it feels like something true, a quiet state that leads to you. They say the mind begins to roam when it feels safe enough alone, a wandering without a goal that drifts across the inner hole. And maybe that's what I'm inside when I let go of where I guide, a place where thoughts don't need to land to still be something I can understand. Drift slow, no line, nothing here I need to define. Soft loop, same view, every path still leads to you. Call it back, call it stay, call it something I don't chase, but every time I let it go, you're where the quiet currents flow. We drive, but I don't see the road. My focus slips, my thoughts unglued, not gone, just somewhere else instead. A quiet layer in my head, and in that space I start to feel something softer, something real, not built on words or what we do, but something that exists with you. I used to think that love would speak in ways that made it clear to keep it defined, sense a certain place, a structured form I could embrace, but now it moves a different way, not needing words for it to stay, a background presence in my mind that's always there but undefined. And maybe that's the clearest sign, not something I can draw a line,
It's something that appears when I stop asking questions like why. A quiet emergence, soft and slow, that doesn't need me to know. It just exists in passing thought, a form that can't be fully caught. Drift slow, no line, nothing here I need to define. Soft loop, same view, every path still leads to you. Call it echo, call it trace, call it something I embrace, but every time I let it be, it comes back differently to me. The rhythm builds but never peaks. It moves in waves, it shifts, it leaks into the spaces left behind between each passing thought and mine. And I don't try to hold it still or shape it with a stronger will. I let it form the way it must. This quiet moving sense of us. You overlap in everything, in half-formed thoughts and drifting scenes. Not fully there, not fully gone, but something that keeps going on. And I don't know if that is real or just the way I choose to feel. But in this state I start to see a different kind of clarity. We layer voices, not as one, but many threads that come undone and weave again in subtle ways. A scattered, soft, reflective haze, and everything begins to show. Not what I planned, but what I know. A quiet pattern underneath that doesn't need to be complete. So I don't try to end the line, I'll bring it back or redefine. I'll let it drift the way it does. This open in the sense of us. And if this is how love can stay, not fixed but moving day by day, then I'll remain inside the flow, where nothing needs to fully show. The loop returns, it fades again, a gentle never-ending blend. And every time it circles through, it brings a softer version of you. Call it instinct, call it mind, call it something undefined, but all I know so endlessly, you live inside the drift in me. We don't start with words this time, just breathing in a slower line. Your voice beneath mine on top, a quiet place where we don't stop. Not moving forward, not behind, just something gently intertwined. Before the world can even speak, we're already soft, already deep. I used to feel the rush begin before I knew what I was in. A sudden pull, a rising wave, a need to hold, a need to chase. But now it starts a different way, and something that just wants to stay. No urgency, no need to prove, just something safe in how we move. They say the body learns to trust, not through force but through in us. A signal sent without a word, a tone that doesn't need to be heard. A quiet sense of I am here, a space where nothing feels unclear. And maybe that's what this has grown, a place where I don't feel alone. Stay low, stay near, nothing here I have to fear. Soft breath, slow sound, something safe in being found. Call it calm, call it real, call it something I can feel. But every moment feels like truth in the way I breathe with you. We move a little, then we pause, not cause we need to, just because the rhythm doesn't need to lead. It follows what we both can be, and in that shift I start to see a different kind of energy, not built on highs or sudden change, but something wide that doesn't strain. You say something quiet, slow, not something I need to know, but something I can feel instead. And how your voice rests in my head, and I don't need to analyze or look for truth behind your eyes. It's enough to let it land and simply feel it where I stand. And maybe love can start like this, not in a spark, not in a twist, but in a system learning ease. A body slowly finding peace, not reacting, not on guard, not needing to prepare to too hard, just something open, something still that doesn't fight against the will. Stay low, stay near, nothing here I have to fear. Soft breath, slow sound, something safe in being found. Call it balance, call it flow, call it something I now know. But every second feels like ease instead of something I must seize. The rhythm shifts, it loosens now. No fixed line, no rigid how. And in that sway I start to feel a softer, deeper kind of real. Not held in place, not locked in tight, but something moving just right. A kind of freedom in the space that doesn't need to accelerate. You say I'm here, I feel it land. Not in the word, but how you stand. A presence more than something said. A quiet tone that spreads instead. And maybe that's what stays the most. Not what we say, but what we hold. A signal passed from you to me that says I'm safe to just be me. The voices rise, they layer in a human warmth beneath the skin. Not louder, just more complete. A fuller sense of what we keep. And everything begins to show. Not what we chase, but what we know. A deeper line, a softer thread that holds in ways we never said. So I don't try to shape it now, or turn it into something loud. I let it breathe the way it does. This quiet living sense of us. And if this is how love can grow, not rising fast but moving slow, then I'll stay here inside the sound where nothing needs to be profound. We fade into the final line, not ending, just a softer time. And every voice begins to blend without a start, without an end. Call it instinct, call it peace, call it something that won't cease. But all I know, so honestly, this safety feels like home to me. I remember it a certain way, but I don't know if it's the same as how it happened in that time, or how it settled in my mind. The edges blur, the colors shift, the details start to gently drift. And every time I think it through, it feels a little more like you. They say the mind can rewrite scenes, not fully false, not fully clean. But every time we bring them back, they bend along a different track. A softer tone, a sharper line, a different place, a different time. And maybe that's what I've been doing, turning every past into you. It starts to change without a sound, a little lost, a little found. What once was clear becomes a blend of what was real and what I meant. And I don't try to hold it still or force it back against its will. I let it shift the way it needs to fit the way I feel you now in me. Same past, new frame, everything shifts in your name. Not wrong, not right, just rewritten in this light. Call it memory, call it flow, call it something I don't know. But every time I look behind, you're rearranged inside my mind. You're rearranged inside my mind. We drive along the fading coast, the places that I knew the most don't feel the way they used to feel. But something in them still feels real, not as they were, but as they've grown through all the ways I've overthrown the versions I once held so tight into something softer in this light. I see us there in different ways, in altered scenes and shifted frames. Not everything was always good, but somehow now it feels like it could be something more than what it was. Not perfect, but enough, because the meaning changed along the way and shaped itself into today. And maybe love can live like this, not just in moments that exist, but in the way we bring them back and gently move them on the track. A reconstruction of what's are the lines we used to know. Same past, new frame. Everything shifts in your name. Not wrong, not right, just rewritten in this light. Call it memory, call it trace, call it something we replace, but every version that I see still somehow leads you back to me. The sound cuts out, it starts again, a different chord beneath the same. And in that shift I start to feel how much of this is something real. Not fixed, not gone, not locked away, but something I can gently shape. Each time I let it reappear, it changes just enough to keep you here. You say you don't recall it that way, but I don't mind, I'll let it stay. Not cause I think I'm more correct, because it's something I protect. A version that I came to know, not fully true, but still it grows into a space I can belong, where nothing feels entirely wrong. We rise again, the chorus build each layer, adding what it feels, not bigger, just more complete. A softer, fuller kind of beat, and everything begins to show, not what it was, but what it's grown. A present shaped by what we choose, not what we had, but what we use. So I don't try to fix the past or make a moment always last. I let it move the way it does, the shifting, living sense of us. And if this is how love can stay, not frozen but reshaped each day, then I'll just trust the way it flows through everything I thought I knew. We drive until the night is deep, but still the memories don't sleep. They move, they change, they realign, with every thought I let unwind. Call it instinct, call it art, call it rewriting in the heart. But all I know, so honestly, you're every version back in me. We don't rush, we don't resist, we just exist like this, somewhere between the rise and fall, where nothing pulls too far at all. And I can feel it in the way we don't need more than what we say. No extra weight, no missing piece, just something settling into peace. You say a word, I answer slow, not cause I need to, just to show that everything can move in time without the need to over-define. And in that rhythm I can see a different kind of energy, not pushing forward, not behind, but something resting in the line. They say the body learns to stay inside a certain range of change, not too high, not too low, just where it naturally can go. A balance built from what we share, a steady, quiet kind of care. And maybe that's what we became, a middle point without a name. Stay here, don't move, nothing left to prove, not far, not near, everything is clear. Call it balance, call it state, call it something we create, but every moment feels aligned, like we're resting in the same design. We drive along the open coast, no need to chase what mattered most, and every mile feels like it lands right where we both can understand. Not better, not more than before, just easier to move toward a place where everything can be without demanding energy. I used to think that love would lean too far into one kind of scene, a peak, a fall, a constant shift, a sudden change I couldn't miss. But now I see it differently, not built on instability, but something steady, something wide, a place where I don't need to hide. And maybe that's what changes most, not what we gain, but what we don't. The need to prove, the need to hold, the fear of something uncontrolled. And in that absence I can feel a quieter, more lasting, real, not louder, not more defined, but something settled in the mind. Stay here, don't move, nothing left to prove, not far, not near, everything is clear. Call it rhythm, call it flow, call it something we both know, but every second feels like truth, without me having to chase you. The sound expands, then pulls pulls back in, a shifting form, a steady spin. And in that motion I can see a different kind of symmetry. Not mirrored perfectly or clean, but something balanced in between. A shared direction we don't force, just something moving on its course. You speak, I pause, then answer back. No urgency, no need to act. And somehow that's what makes it real. Not what we say, but how we feel. A space where silence isn't lack, but something gently holding back the need to fill what's already full. A quiet kind of beautiful. We rise a bit then settle down. The pattern forms without a sound, and everything just fits in place without the need to rearrange. And maybe that's the clearest sign. Not something loud, but something fine. A balance I don't try to hold, but still it never seems to fall. So I don't try to shift the line or force it into something mine. I let it move the way it does. This quiet, even sense of us. And if this is how love can stay, not chasing highs but finding way, then armor made inside the space. Oh, and nothing needs to be replaced. We drive until the light is low, but nothing here begins to go. And every breath, each passing view feels like it's balanced back to you. Call it instinct, call it peace, call it something that won't cease. But all I know so honestly, this balance feels like home to me. It's quieter now than it's ever been. Not empty, just a softer skin around the thoughts that used to race. Now settling into slower space. I don't reach out the way I did. No sudden pull, no tightening grip. Just something resting in my chest. Like finally I can just exist. The city fades behind the glass. The lights don't hit the way they pass. They blur into a steady glow that moves but doesn't overflow. And in that motion I can feel a different kind of something real. Not built on tension or on speed, but something closer to what I need. They say the body learns to slow when it feels safe enough to go. From guarded breath to open air, from constant wash to unaware. A shift that doesn't need control but moves to something deeper hold. And maybe that's what this has been, a quiet letting go within. No push, no pull, nothing left to overrule. Just breathe, just stay, let it move a different way. Call it calm, call it release, call it something close to peace. But every moment feels like truth without me having to hold you. We drive with nothing left to prove. No need to question every move. And every mile feels like it lands without slipping through my hands. The ocean hums, the engine low, a rhythm I don't need to know. It doesn't lead, it doesn't guide, it simply stays right by my side. I used to think a love will mean a heightened state, a sharper scene, a constant need to feel it strong, to know that something wasn't wrong. But now I see it differently. Not something loud or meant to be, but something resting underneath, a quiet, steady form of peace. And maybe that's the truest shift. Not what we take, but what we give. A space where nothing has to fight to stay or prove that it is right. Not chasing what could disappear, but trusting what is already here. A slower kind of moving through that doesn't lose itself in you. No push, no pull, nothing left to overrule. Just breathe, just stay, let it move a different way. Call it balance, call it flow, call it something I now know. But every second feels like ease instead of something I must see. The rhythm drops, the sound goes thin, and in that space I'm finally in a place I didn't know before, where I don't need to reach for more. No extra thought, no hidden line. No need to read between the signs. Just something open, something clear that simply stays when you are here. You look at me, I don't react. Not 'cause I'm holding something back, but 'cause there's nothing left to prove. No sudden need to make a move. And maybe that's what changes most, not what we feel, but what we don't. The urgency, the constant need just fades into a softer speed. We move again, the chorus forms, not rising fast, not breaking norms. It spreads across a wider space, a slower, more consistent place. And everything just settles in without a fight, without a spin. The kind of stillness I can trust that doesn't depend on us. So I don't try to shape it now or turn it into something loud. I let it be the way it is, this quiet, open kind of this. And if this is how love can stay, not burning out but finding way, then I'll remain inside the flow. Ooh, when nothing forces me to know. We drive until the road goes dark, but something soft remains a spark. Not rising up, not fading down, just something steady all around. Call it instinct, call it truth, call it something simple too. But all I know so honestly, this quiet feels like being free. It doesn't start with a sudden flame or something I can clearly name. It settles in a softer way, like light that stays throughout the day. No sharp edges, no sudden rise, no chasing something in disguise. Just something forming quietly, a kind of steady clarity. I used to think I needed more, a higher peak, a louder roar, a feeling strong enough to prove that something real was meant to move. But now I see it differently, not something loud or meant to be, but something built in smaller ways that gently holds across the days. They say the mind can learn to stay inside a calm, consistent state, not driven by the highest highs, but something even, something wide, a balance built from what repeats, a rhythm steady underneath. And maybe that's what this has grown, a place where I don't feel alone. No rush, no fall, nothing pulling me at all. Just here, just now, something I don't question how. Call it steady, call it true, call it something built with you. But every moment feels complete without needing to compete. We drive along the Golden Coast, no need to chase what mattered most. And every mile feels like it stays, not fading out, not drifting away. The sky isn't brighter than before, it just feels easier to explore. A space where everything can land without needing to expand. I used to measure what I felt against the times my heart had let, but now I see it's not the same. Not every love needs fire or flame. Some things exist in quieter forms, not built on chaos, not on storms, but something even, something deep, a kind of peace I get to keep. And maybe that's what changes here, not losing doubt but losing fear, a softer trust in what remains when nothing pulls or overstains. A balance I don't need to chase, a grounded, stable kind of place where everything can simply be without needing intensity. And no rush, no fall, nothing pulling me at all. Just here, just now, something I don't question how. Call it baseline, call it stay, call it something I don't break, but every second feels like truth, a quiet form of me and you. The music lifts, the chords expand, a fuller sound I understand, not 'cause it's louder, not 'cause it's more, but 'cause it fills what came before. A gentle rise, a steady line that doesn't need to redefine what's already been built inside. A place where I can just reside. You look at me, I feel it clear. Not something new, but something near a constant. I don't try to prove, just something that I let improve. And I don't need to question why I push it further to the sky. It's enough to let it stay in this quiet, grounded way. We move again, the chorus grows, but not in ways it overflows. It spreads instead of rising high. It settles more than amplifies, and everything just feels aligned. A steady state within my mind that doesn't shift or disappear, no matter how the days appear. So I don't try to change its form or force it into something warm. I let it be the way it is, this quiet, stable kind of this. And if this is how love can grow, not chasing highs but moving slow, then I'll stay here inside the line where everything feels naturally mine. We drive until the night comes in, but nothing here feels paper thin. And every breath, each passing view, feels grounded back to me and you. Call it instinct, call it peace, call it something that won't cease. But all I know so honestly, the steady state is home to me. It doesn't hit the way it did, not sharp, not sudden like a spark. It moves in softer, quieter lines, like light adjusting in the dark. I used to chase the rising wave, the sudden pull, the shift, the change. But now it feels like something else, a steady warmth I can't explain. There's something in the way we stay, not reaching out, not pulling back, just letting everything exist without the need to fill the gaps. And in that space I start to feel a different kind of clarity, not built on what could come or go, but something present, something free. They say there's something in the brain that builds from closeness over time, a quiet sense of being safe, a signal softer than a sign. Not pushing forward, not intense, but something steady, something true. A kind of calm that slowly grows the more I stay right here with you. No rush, no break, nothing here I need to take. Just stay, just breathe, let it form naturally. Call it trust, call it flow, call it something slow, but every moment feels like peace, the kind I never used to know. We drive along the open coast, the sky feels softer than before, not wider, not more infinite, just easier to stand inside. And every mile feels like it holds a different kind of memory, not sharp, not loud, not hard to keep, but something quiet I can be. I used to think that love would peak and slowly fall, it drift away, but now I feel a steady line that doesn't need to rise or break. It doesn't ask for anything, it doesn't force a shape to form. It simply sits where we both are and keeps the not how it starts, but how it stays. A softer kind of energy that doesn't fade or rearrange. Not built on what we might become, but what we already are. A quiet sense of being seen without needing to go far. No rush, no break, nothing here I need to take. Just stay, just breathe, let it form naturally. Call it calm, call it real, call it how I feel. But every second here with you feels like something I can keep. The rhythm fades, the sound goes wide, a space where everything can rest. And in that stillness I can feel there's nothing more I need to test. No need to question what this is, or measure how it came to be. It's simply there in every breath, a quiet form of certainty. You look at me, I don't react, not cause I don't feel it inside, but cause it doesn't need to move to prove that it's alive. And maybe that's the clearest sign, not what it shows, but what it holds. A steady presence through it all that doesn't need to be told. We move again, the chorus goes, but not in ways it used to before. It spreads instead of rising high, it fills the space instead of more. And everything just settles in a pattern. I don't try to break a kind of peace I didn't know was something I could make. So I don't try to shape it now or turn it into something loud. I let it be the way it is, this quiet open kind of fuss. And if this is how love can live, not chasing highs but learning this, then I'll stay here inside the flow where everything just seems to fit. We drive until the light turns cold, but nothing feels like it will end up, cause it lasts forever now. Because I don't need to pretend. Call it indistinct, call it truth, call it something simple too. But all I know, so honestly, this quiet feels like home with you. I remember what went wrong, more than all the things it didn't. The way your voice turned slightly cold, the pause you thought I wouldn't listen. And even now it stays with me, a little sharper than it should. Not cause it mattered more than good, but cause it settled where it could. They say the mind will hold the weight of darker things a little longer, not cause they're true or always real, but cause they land a little stronger. A kind of imprint left behind, a deeper mark, a longer stay. And everything that felt okay just slowly fades a softer gray. Good, bad, shift, stay, I replay it anyway. Soft, loud, small, true, but I remember what you do. Call it bias, call it pull, call it something powerful, but every moment slightly wrong feels like it lasts a little long. We drive along the empty coast, the music low, the windows closed, and every silence feels too loud, like something sitting in a cloud of thoughts I didn't mean to keep, but still they follow where I think. And every good thing we once had gets filtered through the weight of bad. I try to balance what is real, the way you laugh, the way you feel, the nights we stayed, the words we said, the way you rested on my chest. But every time I line it up, one small mistake disrupts enough to tilt the whole perspective down and shift the way I move around. And maybe love can turn like like this, not in the highs, but what you miss. A focus drawn to what feels off, a constant pull I can't turn off. Not cause it's all that we became, but cause it lingers in the frame. A heavier note in every song that stays even when it's gone. Good, bad, shift, stay, I replay it every day. Warm, cold, near, far, still I carry every scar. Call it memory, call it trace, call it something I can't erase. But every moment that goes wrong feels like it's where I still belong. Beat cuts slow, the rhythm breaks, a hollow space the silence makes. And in that gap I start to see what this has done inside of me. Not broken, not completely lost, but slightly bent from what it caused. A softer version of before that feels a little unsure. You say it wasn't meant that way, but still it doesn't fully fade. And I don't know if that's on me or just the way we're built to be. To hold the tension more than peace, to let the heavier moments lead. To find the fire within the hole and let it settle in the soul. We start again, the chorus lands a steady line. I understand, not cause it's right, not cause it's clear, but cause it's something always here. Maybe that's the hardest part, not letting go, but where to start when every good thing that we knew still bends around the weight of you. So I don't try to clear it out or force it into perfect doubt. I let it sit the way it does, this heavy shifting sense of us. And if this is what love can be, a sliding balance constantly, then I'll just stay inside the view where every wrong still leads to you. We drive until the morning light, but nothing fully feels as right. And every mile just seems to prove the weight is something I can't lose. Call it instinct, call it flaw, call it something without law. But all I know so endlessly, the bad still weighs more heavily. You smiled once and I felt it spread, like something moving through my chest. Not mine, not yours, but in between, a kind of shared, contagious thing. And I don't know where it begins or how it crosses through the skin, but every time you shift your mood, I feel it change my altitude. They say emotions travel fast, not held inside, not meant to last. They pass through signals we don't see, a silent form of empathy. A mirrored rise, a borrowed fall, a subtle change that hits us all. And maybe that's what I'm inside, a place where your feelings reside. Back inside of me. We drive along the midnight coast, the silence louder than the noise, and every shift in how you breathe starts to rewrite the air I breathe. Not cause I try, not cause I choose, but cause I somehow can't refuse the way your state becomes my own. Before I even know it's grown, you look away, I feel it too. The quiet tension breaking through you. Turn back soft, I settle down like something sinking without sound. And I can't tell where I begin or where you end within my skin, but something moves across the line that blurs the space between your mind and mine. Maybe that's why it feels so strong, not just connection, but belonging. A system built to overlap, to share the weight, to close the gap. Not always good, not always right, but everything I feel with you. Laugh, fade, lift, drop. I never really get to stop. Up, down, shift, sway. I move the way your feelings play. Call a mirror, call it change, call it something in the brain. But every time your mood resets, it leaves a trace I can't forget. The beat cuts slow, the world goes slow. A halftime pulse begins to grow, and in that space I start to see how much of you is shaping me. Not just thoughts, not just a role, but deeper lines within my soul. A shared emotion, undefined, that quietly rewrites my mind. Maybe love can live like this, a constant exchange, a shifting mix. Not fixed, not mine, not fully yours, but something passing back and forth. A rise I didn't initiate, a fall I didn't calculate, but still I feel it just the same. A borrowed fire, a second flame. You say you're fine, I feel the break, a hidden tension you won't stay, and somehow I still carry it, a quiet weight that doesn't fit. Not spoken out, not clearly shown, but still it's set goes in my bones, like something passed without a word, that somehow still gets fully heard. We speed again, the chorus hits, the pattern forms, the system fits, and everything feels locked in place inside the shared emotional space. Not cause it's clear, not cause it's true, but cause it's something I go through. Each time you shift, each time you stay, I feel it all in my own way. So I don't try to block it out, or draw a line, or build a doubt. I let it move the way it does, the shifting, shared version of us. And if this is how love can be, a constant emotional frequency, then I'll just stay inside the flow, where your feelings come and go. We drive until the morning breaks, the system bends but never shakes, and every moment proves it's true. I'm always feeling part of you. Call it instinct, call it tie, call it something we can't deny, but all I know so endlessly, your emotions live in me. Yeah, you used to feel like something new, a sudden spark I couldn't lose, a shift that made the world feel wide, a kind of pull I couldn't hide. But now it's different in a way, not gone but not the same as yesterday, like something faded in between the highs I had, the things I've seen. They say the brain begins to learn what to expect and what to earn, a pattern built from what repeats, a signal tied to what it meets. And when the outcome starts to match too closely to what it can catch, the feeling slowly starts to fall. It doesn't hit the same at all. High, low, fade, stay, I feel it slipping day by day. Same, close, less true, it doesn't land the way you do. Call it change, call it drop, call it something I can't stop, but every time it comes around it feels a little less profound. We drive along the quiet coast, no sudden rush, no rising notes, and every mile feels more the same, a steady line without the flame. Not wrong, not bad, not incomplete, but something missing underneath. A lack of edge, a softer tone that makes it harder to feel known. I try to trace it back again to when it first began to bend, the moment where it lost the rise that used to live behind your eyes, but nothing clear appears in view, just something slowly shifting through, a gradual, unnoticed change that rearranged the way it came. And maybe love can fade like this, not in a break, not in a miss, but in a steady, quiet line that's slowly flattens out in time. Not cause it's gone, not cause it's weak, but cause it's something we repeat until it loses what it had. The contrast that once made it glad. High, low, fade, stay. I keep feeling it this way. Same close, less true. Still I'm standing next to you. Call it baseline, call it calm, call it something without harm. But every time I try to feel it, lands a little less than real. It lands a little less than real. The beat cuts down, the sound gets thin. A hollow space begins within, and in that gap I start to see what this has turned into for me. Not pain, not loss, not something sharp, just something flat across the heart. A quiet state I can't deny that doesn't fall but doesn't rise. You look at me, I feel it too. A softer version coming through, not distant, not completely gone, but something slightly moving on. And I don't know if that's okay or if it slowly fades away, but right now it's the only truth, a steady, quiet form of you. We try again, the chorus plays, but something's lost within the phrase. Not cause it's wrong, not cause it's weak, but cause it doesn't reach its peak. And maybe that's the clearest sign that something changed without a line. Not broken down, not torn apart, just slowly settling in the heart. So I don't try to force it back, or bring the contrast that we lacked. I let it be the way it is, this steady, quiet kind of this. And if this is how love can go, not crashing down but fading slow, then maybe that's the truest end. Not lost but less of what had been. We drive until the road runs straight. No sudden turns, no change of state. And every mile just proves it more. It's not the same as it before. Call it instinct, call it flow, call it something we outgrow. But all I know so silently, it doesn't feel the same to me. To me.
Awake before the light comes in. No reason why, just something thin. A quiet pressure in my chest that doesn't let me fully rest. And I can feel it in my breath, a subtle weight I can't address. Not sharp, not loud, but always there. The kind of tension in the air. They say the body holds the trace of everything we try to face. And even when the moment's gone, it lingers quietly, moves on. A signal left from what was real, a shadow of the way we feel, that rises when the world is still, before I've had the time to build. Slow rise, no sound, something pulling me back down. Cold light, same view, everything reminds me of you. Call it stress, call it state, call it something I can't escape. But every morning starts the same, you echo somewhere in my brain. We drove too fast the night before, said things we won't say anymore, but now they sit beneath the skin, repeating where they've always been. And every word I didn't say comes back a different kind of way, not louder, just more defined, like something stuck inside my mind. The sky turns pale, the room gets clear, but nothing really disappears. It just reshapes into a tone that follows even when I'm alone. And I don't know how to reset, or let it fade, or just forget. It's like a system left on loop that won't release me from the truth. And maybe love can leave like this, not fully gone, not something missed, but something living in between. A quiet, low, persistent scene, not breaking down, not falling through, just staying there. And muted view, a steady hum, I can't erase a lingering emotion. No, no, no trace. Slow rise, no sound, every thought just circles round. Cold light, same view, everything connects to you. Call it memory, call it scar, call it something from afar, but every morning I can feel it's something deeper than what's real. Beat drops out, the silence grows, a hollow space that slowly flows, and in that gap I start to see what this has done inside of me. Not chaos, not a sudden fall, but something steady through it all. A quiet tension I can't shake that builds before I'm fully awake. You said it didn't mean that much, but still I feel it in the touch of everything that follows through. A subtle shift in what I do, and I don't know if that's okay or if it slowly fades away. But right now it's the only thing that colors everything I bring. We start again, the rhythm slow, but nothing fully lets me go. And every note just feels restrained, like something held but still remains. Not cause it's strong, not cause it's clear, but cause it's always slightly here. A constant presence in the day that never fully goes away. So I don't try to fight it now, or push it back or ask it how. I let it sit the way it does, this quiet leftover of us. And if this is what love can leave, a trace I wake up just to feel, then maybe that's the truest form. Not gone, just changed into a storm. The sunlight hits but nothing shifts, it only shows what still exists. And every breath, each passing view feels slightly tinted back to you. Call it instinct, call it flaw, call it something without law, but all I know so endlessly is still the first thing waking me. I try to keep it all in place, every feeling in a frame, measured out, controlled and clean, nothing spilling in between. You say that's just the way I am, a steady voice, a careful hand, but something underneath the skin was building up, was closing in. They say we learn to regulate, to hold it down, to hesitate, to smooth the rise, reduce the fall, to keep control above it all. But there's a limit to the line, a breaking point we never find, until it shifts without a sound, and everything just tumbles down. Hold, breathe, stay still, keep it under, keep the will tight, calm, don't show, let it settle, let it go. Call it control, call it skill, call it something learned to feel. But every time I push it down, it comes back stronger twice around. We're driving slow along the coast, no music now, no sound to hold, and every second feels too loud. Inside a space I can't get out. You say something soft and low, but I don't hear it like before, 'cause everything is stacking up behind a door I can't ignore. I try to keep it in my chest, not let it move, not let it stretch, not let it turn into a wave that I might not be able to save. But every glance, each subtle shift has another weight to lift, and now it's harder just to stay in the controlled and steady way. And maybe love can push like this, not gentle, not a quiet drift, but something pressing from inside that builds until it can't divide the line between what's held and free, between control and what must be a rising force I can't contain, a silent pressure in the
stronger than my will. Tight, calm, don't break, but I feel it start to shake. Call it tension, call it strain, call it something in the brain. But every time I try to stay, it slowly pulls me the other way. Drops out, the silence grows, a hollow space, a heavy low. And in that moment I can feel what I've been trying not to feel. Not loud, not sharp, not full release, just something building underneath. The quiet crack, a subtle tear that finally starts to reappear. You look at me, I try to speak, but something locks before I reach the words I had. The things I knew just slip away in front of you. And maybe that's the clearest sign that I've been holding it too tight, that something real is breaking through the version I show you. We start again, the rhythm bends, but nothing fully recombines. And every word I try to place for slightly off feels out of place. Not cause it's wrong, not cause it's new, but cause I've lost the way I knew to keep it all inside the lines without it spilling out in time. So I don't try to hold it now, force it back, or ask it how. I let it move the way it must. It's breaking, shifting sense of us. And if this is what love can be, a loss of control inside of me, then maybe that's the truest form. Not safe, not still, but fully worn. We drive until the light returns, but something in me never turns back to the way it was before. The calm I used to lean toward. Call it instinct, call it flaw, call it something without law, but all I know so honestly, I couldn't hold what you did to me. I've come this far, I can't let go. That's what I tell myself. I know, not cause it's right, not cause it's clear, but cause I've already been here. Too many nights, too many turns, too many things I tried to learn. And walking back feels heavier than staying where we are. They say the mind can start to wait, the time and effort that we gave, and use it as a reason now to stay no matter why or how. Not future gain, not present truth, but what we built, what we went through. A kind of anchor tied in place that keeps me in this space. I know it's not the same as before. I feel the shift beneath the floor, but every step I try to take feels like a loss I shouldn't make. Not cause I'm sure that still is right, because I've held it through the nights. And letting go would mean to face. The time won't be replaced. Stay, hold, don't move. I got too much to lose. Past, wait, still true. Even if I'm losing you. Call it reason, call it fear, call it something keeping me here. But every time I try to leave, I feel the cost inside of me. We drive along a I can't ignore that holds me like before. Stay, hold, don't move. I got too much to lose. Past, wait, still true. Even if I'm losing you. Call it memory, call it time. Call it something I can't deny. But every time I try to see, the past still stands in front of me. The beat drops slow, the rhythm slows. A halftime pulse begins to show. And in that space I start to feel the shape of something almost real. Not love, not lost, but in between. A faded version of a dream that lingers longer than it should. Just cause it once was good. You look at me like you're unsure, like something here is not secure. And I can see it in your eyes, the same reflection I disguise. But neither one of us will say, but both of us can feel this way. Cause saying it would mean to face the cost we can't replace. We speed again, the chorus lands a steady loop. I understand, not cause it's right, not cause it's new, but cause it's something I still choose. And maybe that's the hardest part, not breaking clean but staying smart while something slowly fades away. And still I choose to stay. So I don't try to fix it now or break it down or ask you how. I let it move the way it does, this heavy quiet sense of us. And if this is what love can be, a cost that builds inside of me, then I'll just stay inside the view where time still ties me back to you. We drive until the light comes through. The sky resets but not the truth. And every mile just makes it clear. The past is what still holds me here. Call it instinct, call it flaw, call it something without law. But all I know so endlessly, the time is what keeps you with me. You never say it straight to me, just something in between the lines. A half-formed thought, a quiet shift, a look that changes over time. And I can't tell what's real or not, but somehow that's what pulls me in. The lack of clarity you bring feels sharper than it's ever been. I used to want a clear reply, a simple yes, a solid no. But now I lean into the blur, the space where nothing fully shows. Cause something in the undefined feels louder than a certain truth. The more I try to pin it down, the more I feel it move. Maybe it's better this way, not knowing what you'll say. A kind of tension in the air that keeps me staying there. Call it unclear, call it strange, call it something I can't name. But every time you shift your view, it only pulls me more to you. We drive along the open dark, the road dissolves beneath the lights, and every sign feels incomplete, like something missing from the lines. But in the gap I feel it more, a heightened sense I can't ignore. Not full, not empty, just enough to make me want it more. You say maybe, not I will. You say we'll see, not something still. And every word said starts echoing inside my head, and I replay it differently until it fits the way I need. Not 'cause I know what you mean, but 'cause I feel what it could be. They say the brain fills in the gaps when things are left a little loose. It builds a version of the truth that fits the way we choose, and maybe that's what I've become. A space that you don't fully define, but still I hold it close enough to make it feel like mine. Maybe it's better unclear, a signal shifting each time you're near. Not fixed, not clean, not fully true, but always leading back to you. Call it illusion, call it play, call it something that won't stay, but every time it slips away, it makes me want it anyway. The beat drops out, the sound goes thin, the halftime pulse begins within, and in that space I start to see how this is shaping parts of me. Not stable ground, not steady form, but something moving through the storm. A constant sense of in-between that keeps it sharp, keeps it unseen. You look at me, don't say a word, and somehow everything is heard. Not through the sound, but through the lag. There's something I keep chasing back, and I don't know if that's okay, or if I just been led this way. But all I know is every doubt still keeps me in. Without a doubt, we speed again. The rhythm hits, the layers stack, the pattern fits, and suddenly it feels so clear until it disappears. And that's the part I can't ignore, the way it keeps me wanting more. Not 'cause it's real, not 'cause it's right, but 'cause it fades just out of sight. So I don't try to make it whole or force a shape I can control. I let it move the way it does, the shifting undefined us. And if this is how love can be, a state of ambiguity, then I'll just stay inside the frame where nothing stays but still remains. We drive until the morning glows, the lines return, the meaning shows, but something's lost when it gets clear. The magic disappears, so I'll stay here between the lines where nothing fully aligns. 'Cause all I know so endlessly, the blur is what connects you to me. Changed the frame, and somehow I still played the same, like I was waiting for a sign that never came but felt like mine. A mismatch sitting in plain view between what's said and what you do, and still I leaned into the space like something I could rearrange. They say the brain predicts ahead, builds quiet models in your head of what will happen, what will stay, a map to guide you through the day. But when the outcome doesn't match, the system starts to feel the crack. A sudden spike, a signal flare, a moment charge beyond repair. Pulls me deeper into it. Pulls me deeper into it. You said you'd leave, then stayed all night, and everything just felt more right. The difference hit me like a wave, a stronger feeling than I gave. Not 'cause it's stable, not because it builds a clean and steady us, but 'cause the shift between the two creates a stronger pull to you. The road keeps cutting left and right, the headlights flicker in the night, and every turn feels out of place, like something changed without a trace. And in that space I feel it grow, a heightened sense I didn't know, a sharper edge, a brighter tone that makes the unknown feel like home. Come right, shift, break. I don't know which path to take. Stay, go, then move. Still I'm locked into your groove. Call it error, call it drift, call it a cognitive shift. But every mismatch that I see feels like it's building you and me. The beat cuts out, the pulse goes low. A halftime rhythm starts to grow, and in that drop I start to feel the shape of something almost real. Not stable, not a steady line, but something built on shifting time. A constant need to realign with every change you redefine. And maybe that's the hidden truth, not what is fixed, but what can move. A system built to adapt fast to moments that were never meant to last. And maybe love can live right there in something slightly unaware. A constant loop of breaking through every version of you. You come back in, the sound explodes. The rhythm snaps, the energy flows. And suddenly it all makes sense. Inside this broken confidence. Not cause it's clear, not cause it's right, but cause it hits with stronger light. Each time the pattern falls apart, it rebuilds deeper in my heart. We drive again, the road unstable. No fixed line, no perfect label. And every second feels like proof. The error is what leads to you. Call it instinct, call it flaw, call it something without law. But all I know so endlessly, the mismatch is what keeps me in this scene. So I don't try to fix the frame or force it back into the same. I let it break, I let it shift to some predictable kind of lift. And if this is what love can be, a loop of inconsistency, then I'll stay here inside the pulse where nothing fits but still convulses. We drive until the morning breaks, the system resets, recalibrates, and every turn just makes it true. The error brings me back to you. Call it signal, call it noise, call it something I can't avoid. But all I know, through high and low, the mismatch is what makes me go. I keep a ledger in my head, little marks for what you said, little edits for the parts that don't line up with my heart. You pull me close, you cut the line, you change the rules between the signs, and I pretend to still make sense while shifting all the evidence. There's a tilt I can't ignore, a lean built into my core, a waiting system out of view that overvalues things you do. The way your silence sounds like care, the way your absence feels like there. I fill the gaps, I smooth the seams, I write the version in between. Say it straight, I won't believe. Show me cracks, I'll still retrieve a softer truth, a kinder frame. I'll change the story, keep your name. Call it bias, I'll call it need. Call it how I choose to read. But every signal crossing through finds a reason to be you. You said you needed time to think, then stayed until the morning drink. You drew a line, then blurred the edge and held me like a quiet pledge. Two versions living side by side, and I keep both of them alive. Not cause I'm blind to what is there, but cause I like you everywhere. I learned the brain will favor known, protect the feeling it has grown. It edits out the dissonance to keep the comfort in the sense. So I rewrite the tone you take, I soften every small mistake. I turn the static into song and keep you right where you belong. We're cutting lanes along the coast. Headlights flicker, lines are ghost. The radio stutters, drops, resumes like something breaking into two. Call it conflict, I'll call it art. Call it edits in my heart. But every frame I try of you ends up test myself, I draw it clean, a list of what I've heard and seen. But halfway through I change the weight, I move the scale, I hesitate. I tell myself it's not that bad, I find the parts that make me glad, and all the rest just fades to gray. A quiet cost I choose to pay. Maybe love can bend the lens, sharpen what it recommends, blur the lines that hurt to keep while keeping all the parts we need. A selective kind of sight that turns the wrong into the right, not out of fear, not out of lies, but out of how the heart decides. Say it once, I'll hear it twice. A softened cut, a warmer splice. I stitch your pauses into care. I find your meaning everywhere. Call it bias, call it trust. Call it how we build in us. But every doubt I try to prove just shifts until it fits your groove. Half the tempo, let's go low. The engine hums a darker tone. Your voice comes through in broken clips, 1,000 almost sentences. I catch the ones that feel like truth. I keep the parts that point to you. The rest dissolves into the drive. A background I don't need to cite. You say you're unsure, I hear you're close. You say you're leaving, I hear not yet. You say it's complicated, then you lean like it's already said. And I accept the double lines, the overlay of mixed designs. 'Cause something in me wants to keep the version where you don't leave. We speed again, the chorus hits. Hot up phrases, vocal bits. A chant that flickers in and out. A truth I keep without a doubt. Call it instinct, call it flaw. Call it bending, every law. But every road I try to choose recurves and points me back to you. I could unlearn the way I weigh, rebalance every yesterday. Let every signal stand alone and see the gaps for what they've shown. But even as I think it through, there's something pulling me to you. A preference I can't undo, a quiet tilt that feels like true. So let it be a slanted view, a world that slightly favors you, where every maybe turns to yes, where every less becomes a guess. And if it's not a perfect line, it's still the path I keep in mind. Because in all I sort and prove, there's still a bias toward you. We ride the edge of night and blue. The coast keeps curving into you. And every sign I try to read, it's weighted by this subtle need. Call it bias, call it need. Call it chosen, gravity. But all